Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel Ignited Minds. Today we are learning about respiration. So we all generally feel that respiration is just taking off O2 inside the body and removing CO2 inside the body. So just respiration is a process which includes two steps. First one is breathing and the second one is cellular respiration. In breathing we have two things, inspiration and expiration. Inspiration is that we'll take CO2 from environment to inside the body. Expiration is that from our body CO2 will be removed and sent into environment. This is called as breathing, the first step. And next step is called as cellular respiration. Suppose this is your cell. And when we go back like digestion process, in digestion our food will be digested into simple observable substances, right? Like carbohydrates, fats, proteins. This will be digested into carbohydrates, fats, proteins and vitamins, and this all will be absorbed by our cell. And in the breathing process, the O2 what we had been inspired will be also reached to the cell. This O2 and this carbohydrates together reach the cell. So what happens? The CO2 in presence of oxygen undergo a reaction and forms ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy currency, and it forms some water and CO2 and some waste products. This is called as cellular respiration. Together this breathing and cellular respiration, it is called as respiration. So all the organisms do not respire with the same organelles. They have different organelles. We'll see that. We take the aquatic organism fish. It breathes through, all know it breathes through gills. When we come to frog, which is an amphibian, lives on land and also lives in water. When it lives in water, it uses skin for its respiration, which is called as cutaneous respiration. And when it is living on land, it uses its lungs for its respiration. And next, when we go through some insects, like some examples like cockroaches, they use tubules for their respiration, like Malpighian tubules. And in the human, we can see that they use the lungs for their respiration, pulmonary respiration. Like this, different organelles uses different types of respiratory modes for their generation of ATP. And now we'll detailedly learn about the human respiration. External nostrils, right? We have two holes in our nose, right? They are called as external nostrils, through which the air enters or goes out. And then we have a nose, and we see that inside the nose we have some hair and some mucus will be secreted. And then after nose we can see a tube-like structure called as trachea. And then this trachea at the T5 region will be divided into two branches like this, and these branches are called as branchia. And next, you can see the lungs will be located like this. I know my diagrams are very bad, but you should be able to adjust with that. And this bronchi, where will be inside the lungs, will be further divided like this, which are called as bronchioles. We add OLES to the branchia. We are called as bronchioles. Further smaller divisions of this branchia. And the small bronchioles, we can see some sac-like structures like this. Sac-like structures on both the sides. The sac-like structures are called as alveoli, where the exact diffusion of oxygen and CO2 takes place. They have blood capillaries in them. They will have a contact with the blood capillaries so that they can exchange the O2 and CO2. And detailedly when we see each and every organ's function, as I said you, external nostrils helps in the movement of air in and out. Whereas nose, I said in nose we have hair particles. And what does this hair help from is, they will do not allow the dust particles in the air to enter into our body. Okay, it traps the dust particles. And the mucus also do not allow the microorganism bacteria to do not enter into our body with the air. And this trachea is in a long tube, whereas next I said bronchi, bronchioles, and the alveoli. I also discussed about alveoli function where the diffusion takes place. And when we go to the digestion process, we can see some food pipe. Now exactly we will see how respiration takes place inside our body. See, first of all, I said this is a trachea, bronchi. These are somewhat lungs, bronchioles, alveoli, right? And this lung system is entirely covered by ribs like this. Ribs. And we can see a sternum here. Okay. And next, back side of the lungs, we can see a vertebral column. And here at the below, a dome shaped bone, we can see a diaphragm. This is how we can see. See, on the back side, we have a vertebral column. On the upper side, we have a sternum. And the below, we have a diaphragm. And on the lateral sides, we have a ribs. This all together forms a rib cage. And inside this rib cages, you are going to have a lungs. And in center of the lungs, which is closely towards the left side, you are going to have a heart there. And now see which muscle is going to be contracted and how we are going to take air in and making it go out. Inspiration. Inspiration is taking in air. When we are taking O2, first of all, diaphragm, which is a dome-shaped muscle, will be contracted and the ribs will be also contracted. And what happens when this contraction takes place is that the volume increases. Inside the area of lungs, the volume increases and the pressure decreases. Volume increases, whereas the pressure decreases when compared to the environment. So what happens? O2 from the environment rushes into our body. As it rushes into our body, our volume will be decreasing and pressure will be increasing. When this takes place, expiration is going to take place. You will see. Exactly during inspiration, diaphragm will be contracted, your ribs will be contracted, then volume will increases. That means the space between the lungs will be increases and the pressure will decreases than the environment. So the O2 will rushes into our lungs. Talk about expiration. In expiration, the same muscles, diaphragm, ribs, what we talked before, will be relaxed now. Diaphragm, ribs, all will be in relaxed state. They will be relaxed. So what happens at this time is the volume is going to be decreased. That means the space will be decreased inside the lungs. And what happens? The pressure is going to increase. So when pressure increases and the volume decreases, the CO2 inside our lungs is going to outside the environment, will rushes outside. So in expiration, CO2 is going to go out of the body while the diaphragm and ribs are relaxed. And we are saying that in respiration, the O2 will be entered into the body and it reaches the cell. How does this oxygen is going to reach the cell? We'll see now. Oxygen which entered into our body, it had been taken by the alveoli, which are the functional units of the lungs. And now this O2 will be diffused into your blood capillaries. Into your blood capillaries, this O2 will be diffused. And in blood capillaries, you can find blood, right? In blood, we can see hemoglobin pigment, right? Hemoglobin is a red color pigment. So in this hemoglobin, it will be attracting this O2. O2 and hemoglobin has an attraction between them. And so this O2 and hemoglobin forms the oxyhemoglobin structure, and it will enter into your different organs. And also CO2 also has a capability to combine with hemoglobin. According to the pressure gradient, O2 and CO2 will be combined with the hemoglobin. And when CO2 combines with the hemoglobin, we call it as when CO2 combines with hemoglobin, it is called as carboxyhemoglobin. When hemoglobin and carbon dioxide will be form carboxyhemoglobin near the tissue. Near the tissue, it will be more, because near the tissue only the CO2 will be utilized and CO2 will be released. Whereas this oxyhemoglobin formation will be more near the lung alveoli, where CO2 is sent out and O2 is taken in. And next we'll discuss about the disorders of respirations. What all the diseases are coming under this. The first one is asthma. Asthma is somewhat a breathing difficulty, which is due to inflammation in the bronchioles. So we'll get a breathing difficulty in the disease of asthma. Bronchitis. Bronchitis is a disease where bronchioles will be inflamed, and you're going to get a dry cough in this case. Next, emphysema. Emphysema is a disease which can be seen in a person who is going to smoke. Smoking causes to decrease the surface area of the alveoli. As we discussed, alveoli are very important for the diffusion, and this emphysema in cigarette smoking people and in emphysema diseases who will be smoking will be directly affected to the alveoli. Alveoli surface will be decreased, and it will be like spoil our breathing process. And next, occupational disorders. According to the place where we work, like suppose we work in a place where there are completely dust particles, where we need to break the rocks and all, due to that dust we are going to get the breathing disorders. Like people working in coal mines or marble industries will be mostly affected with this occupational disorders. So these all are the disorders which will be for respiration disorders. So these all are the disorders which will be for respiration. And I think you had been understand what is respiration. So suppose these all are the disorders which will be for respiration, and I think you had been understand what is respiration. So suppose let's have a quick summary here. Suppose these are our lungs, and back side it is covered by a vertebral column, and upper side it has a sternum, lateral side it has a ribs, and down it has a diaphragm. So how the contraction of diaphragm and your ribs, volume will be increases, pressure will decreases, inspiration takes place. When this diaphragm and the ribs are going to relax, what happens? So the volume will be decreased, pressure increases, and CO2 is going to be outside the body. And that's it. I think you had been understood well about respiration. Thank you.